What is going on, everybody? We are live, but hey, actually, I want to do a countdown. I just found out you can do this, so let's actually do this countdown. I'll be right back, David.
All right, let's do it.
Hey, that was classic. That was classy, huh?
That was perfect.
Yes, sir. Okay, everybody. So if you're watching live, what are we going to do today? We are going to show you exactly how to run comps using batch leads, 10 properties in under 10 minutes. Can we do it? We're about to find out, guys, because look, running comps, it can take all day. It can take years. It can take as long as you want. I've talked to new investors that they've been running comps for a long time, and they almost use it as an excuse. They're like, oh, I just got to run comps. And I'm like, wait, hold on. Have you even talked to the seller to know if they want to sell? And they're like, no, I just wanted to know what I would offer before I even talked to them. I'm like, complete waste of time, right, David?
All the time. It happens all the time. And then how many times have you done that? And then you go to call them and they don't pick up.
Yeah, bro, that's the worst. It's like, hey, you do all this research before because you're new and you want to be prepared, and then they're not even selling or they don't answer, or you can't even get the right info. You can't even skip trace the right info for some reason, right? So everybody that's watching, let's dive in, because if you take too long, like I said, it will kind of slow the flow, and we're going to show you how you can use batch to do that. So I got my vibe board. I can't show you guys on my computer because this is streamed on YouTube, and if it shows the information on my computer screen when I share it of batch, then they'll flag it because it's got like personal information on it. So I'm going to show you on my screen. You're going to have to try your best to see it, at least follow along with me. So here, what we have, what we're going to be going through today is there's a wholesaler. I'm in the Orlando market right now, and there's a wholesaler. His name is Nash, but his company's called Nashty. He's got the Nashty deals. All right. And we're going to look at some of his Nashty deals and see if they're deals or not quickly. And if they are, great. We're gonna analyze them. But look, there's enough deals that wholesalers send out, that agents send out, that you can analyze. And the cool thing is, usually, like when a wholesaler sends out a deal, their asking price is usually where it should be a deal. That's usually where it should be a deal, right, David? if they're running their numbers the right way, right?
Yes, ideally, it would be nice to just give that price to somebody and that's it.
It would be nice, but unfortunately, that's not always the case. So we are going to go right here. So this is 928 Edgewater Circle. So we're going to find out really what is the ARV of this property, what could it sell for, and if the price of 221 is actually a deal. And I actually already know the answer to this, and because I already asked the buyer what he would pay, and we'll talk about that. But let's go right here. So you guys, that's the property we're looking at right now. Let's run some comps on it. So if you guys can see my screen back here, what we're going to do with batch leads is we're going to go here to the side where it says property search, and then we're going to type in that address, which again is 928
Edgewater Circle.
Edgewater Circle in Eustis, Florida. Okay, so once you press search, batch should find the property details for you. And right here, it says that the house is pending. I don't know if you guys can see this, but pending means that it's under contract and it's on the MLS. So we're going to go to details. So right here, we see that the house is listed for $247. So this property is actually on market, but Nashty got it under contract for less than $221, and he's trying to sell for $221. So that means, he's trying to make, who knows what he's got it under. Maybe he's got a 5K spread, a 10K spread. I don't know. David, you know what the really cool thing about this is? If you can see here, I actually can zoom in on that, bro. That's freaking tight.
Nice.
It says 297 is the estimated value of this property. David, that's freaking solid. That's spot on, because me and you talked about this property yesterday. 297 for the estimated value is legit, like right on spot, like what this house would be worth fixed up. So thanks to Batch, we just ran the comp. You can trust that works. Now the problem, there's a couple problems though, trusting just immediately the value is there's some states that are non-disclosure. And it's you're not going to be able to get a good accurate estimate, whether it's Zillow, Redfin, or anything. It's going to be kind of tough. Another thing is if you're in an area where there's a bunch of different properties that, like, there's $1 million house next to a $100,000 house, it's going to be tough. So I don't always trust that, but I just looking at them like, that's freaking spot on. So what do we do here? We go to this part where it says comparables. All right. So what this does is it takes over here on the far right. If you guys can, if you have Batch, you'll be able to see, but I'll zoom in. What it does is it sets predetermined filters. It shows property class. It will do single family. If your property is a single family, it will do a house. It will check sold, active, and pending. It will do it within the last 12 months. Anything built within 10 years. So that's something that I think we could change. I don't think we need to find something that's built within 10 years, because in some areas it doesn't really matter, right, David? Like it can be built within several years of each other and they're still kind of similar. So I'm going to change that to within 30 years because it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, with Florida, I would think the structure is more important.
Agreed.
Like concrete block to concrete block.
Exactly. And then you can go over here and they got ignore bedrooms and baths. You can put the certain amount of bedrooms and baths. You can do square footage. Locate within 5 miles. You can shorten it to like 1 mile, 2 miles. Obviously, the closer you're going to get, the better the comps will be. A lot of agents, they'll just like go within like 5-10 miles, just looking for the best comp. And unfortunately, that's what a lot of wholesalers do too. And that can kill your deal if you're comparing it with something that's like far, far, far away, right?
Yeah. And for anybody who's curious, I'm following along with Nathan on my phone app, which is actually very user friendly. So everything you're doing on your desktop, I'm able to do seamlessly here on the app, and it comes up nicely.
No, exactly. The app is money. And if you guys have a specific, I think, a program or tier with them, you can also use it for driving for dollars. But anyway, we're going to scroll down here and we're going to see that the comps that it's giving us, there's several comps in this area. So we can actually trim this down to a smaller area. You could change the, let's see, the location. I'm actually going to go within 2 miles. Let's see what that looks like. So we're going to filter that. Okay. So we have, so I'd actually even look at some of these properties to see what they look like when they sold. So this one sold for $379. That's right on, you can see this is right by the water. So property that's right by the water is going to sell for more than one that's not. This one sold for $315. You can see if it's rehabbed or not. You can like dive in and do your due diligence on that. But we're just going to go, since I've already kind of done this. We know that this house, because it was built a little bit older than some of the other ones that have sold for $310, this one's right around like $290, $297. Okay. So let's run the numbers now so you guys can see how I determine quickly if this is a deal for my buyer. So we go to my calculator. So if the house is worth $299, Batch says $297, we'll go $299, and Nashty's asking $221. Is this a deal for a buyer? So you got to check out their hard money, their costs, because they're going to have to hold the property and flip it. So it might take them 4 months. If you look at the pictures, you see the house is not terrible, but it is outdated. So we're going to give it a medium rehab, and it's about 1,647 square feet. And we can see right here that if a flipper buys it at $221 and sells it for $299 after 4 months of work and paying all the fees and the hard money costs, he'll make $13,000 on this deal. Not a good return on your money, in my opinion. You're going to work 4 months and risk all that time and money and labor to make $13,000. I think there's better ways to make money. You could probably find yourself a better deal. So Nashty, we love you, bro, but your deal's nasty. It's not good. It's not going to work. So I actually talked to a buyer. I said, "Hey, buyer, this one kind of fits your criteria. Where would you be?" He says, "I'd be at 190." So does 190 make sense? Yeah, it makes complete sense because the guy's going to make 15% on his money, 15% of 299, the ARV, and $45,000, $46,000 profit somewhat. So when you talk to buyers, most of the time they're going to want to be wanting to make 10 to 15 and up percent of the ARV. So if this house was worth $500,000, then they would want to be making, over $50,000, right? Over 10% of the ARV. So that was a quick demonstration, everybody, of how to run a comp. Now I've been talking, so I've been able to do 10 deals in 10 minutes, but as you can see, it's pretty easy. Let's do another one. David, do you have anything to say while we're looking at?
I kind of had a little bit of a question.
Okay.
When it comes to, and maybe it's just a brief sentence between you and the buyer, or you and the wholesaler, but when it comes to repairs, are you you're doing some of the estimates yourself, and then when you bring it to the buyer, you're like, hey, I think these are the repairs. What do you think? And kind of want to ask about that.
Yeah, great question, David. So for me, man, I use this this basic formula: $18 per square foot, 24 in everything. And basic is like carpet paint. Medium is carpet paint, kitchen, and baths. Okay. And then everything is like studs or pretty much roof. You throw in anything on top of kitchen, carpet, and bathrooms, and you have additional stuff like plumbing. Let's say you got a bunch of stuff. It's an everything job. So my numbers, like a lot of people fluff these up and they increase them like $20 for the basic, they like 30 and 40. I keep it at this, and it's worked pretty good. And this is all I do. And to be honest, a lot of buyers do the same thing. Like they're not going in. I don't know how many walkthroughs you've been at, David, but a lot of buyers do not like go in and like
do 100 line items. Yeah,
they don't, right? They just kind of give it a big estimate. And you know what good buyers do? Not good for us because we want to make money, but they just make a big estimate. They're like, oh, that's 120,000. You're like, bro, you could do this for like 80 or 60. They're like, nah. But you know what they're doing is they're just making sure
protect themselves
and protect.
I know. Yeah. I get it. I have that convo every day. I get it.
And a lot of the time is they'll try to protect themselves, but it's also, you never know what you're going to run into when you're coming into that rehab.
They'll get outbid. Yeah, sometimes they'll get outbid. It's pretty common, especially if, in my market particularly too, they're willing to let the ARV potentially be higher
yeah. And what I've seen, I talked to a lot of guys is that have lost money on flips is they're like, bro, I budgeted. I wish I would have budgeted more because we started tearing stuff down. Then we found this. We found foundation.
Oh.
So, as wholesalers, we see a very this is very prevalent. This happens a lot. Like what you're seeing with Nashty, all respect to Nashty, but he's trying to find a specific buyer that will buy this, and we just ran the numbers. It just doesn't make sense at 221. That's why it's on the MLS at 247. A lot of people will put a property on the MLS just hoping that like a family buyer will move into it and fix it up. But like when it comes to working with flippers and what we do, we need it because if we bought it at 221, which is discounted from what's on the MLS, we're gonna pretty much lose money, with everything we have to do. So a lot of people think we're unreasonable. We're trying to like screw people over. It's like, nah, man, it's expensive to flip homes. There's a lot of costs that are involved. So, all right, let's look at another one. Let's see how accurate we can get, how fast and accurate it is. So 9-2, you can read that for me, right?
Oh, my bad. It just went out.
Did you go away? All right. Oh, I got it right here. 912 Holiday Lane. Leesburg, Florida. Okay. So all I did is I typed it in. I go to search. Let's see what the estimated value is. Now, a lot of people, if they don't want to just trust just one source, they'll go to Batch Leads. They'll go to any other software they have. They'll go to Redfin and Zillow. They'll put all four and they'll do an average estimate. And they'll say, hey, that's what all these systems are saying this house is worth. let's just take the average, right, of what what it's saying. So right here, I'm looking at this property. Batch is saying that this thing is worth 287. Okay, so it's a 4-bedroom, 1 bath, and it's saying 487. 287. Now let me see if let's just take kind of like what I just told you. Let's see if Zillow agrees. Okay, so I don't see a Zillow estimate on here. You know what? They might. I think when you list a property, they take away the Zillow estimate.
Yeah, that's true.
But
And the
look,
format changes too.
No, for sure. But look, so Batch says 287 on the value. They have it listed at 272. So they were trying to list it pretty much for what Batch thinks it's worth. And then according to the information we have, oh, I'm not even sharing my screen. My bad, guys. I typed it in here. Here it is. So they're trying to list it. It's on the market for 272. They are let's see. Nashty's got it for 162. So yeah, he's a lot lower than where the value is. So this might be a good one, right? This might be a good one to send to one of my buyers. And I can probably say that that's probably pretty accurate. Is like Batch again, crushing it. 287 right here. I would say that's fairly accurate. If you guys can see that 287 on the estimate. And then again, you can go to the comparables and you can just double check. But if they have it listed at 272, which I believe they think was probably, they were crossing their fingers hoping someone would buy it, but it's been on the market for 70 days and nobody wanted it. So let's go back to the calculator. Let's see if it's a deal. First, let's take a look at some of the pictures. So let's see, how much of a rehab does this need to get to 287, which is the ARV? Oh my dear, that's like indoor pool.
Indoor pool?
But an indoor ghetto pool.
Luxury ghetto.
Bro, look.
Yo,
how would you like that, man, to have a nice indoor pool right in the middle of your living room, dog?
I mean, in theory.
That's wild.
Yo, with the boat.
With the boat, if the boat's in it, it's worth 287, 100%.
Yeah, that seems to stack up too with the other comps, because I see like a 4-1, but it's like mad nice. That sold for 360, but that's also a little bit bigger. It has another bathroom. So when you take those factors in consideration, like just being under 300 seems to make sense.
Bro, can you? I would even say that the pool inside the house makes it less valuable. Like, who wants a pool inside like their living?
Yeah, unless that's like the room right next to the outside. But still, like, it doesn't look like those look like regular wall, like sheetrock. I don't think it should be like that.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. And I think the issue is like pools are very expensive, bro. Like, I'm sure to even restore this to get it going, it's probably very expensive. So that's probably a big reason why this thing has not sold.
Oh yeah, that's tough, man.
I don't even know how to throw in the rehab on a pool like that, dude. Like
indoor pool? No, I haven't
haven't dealt with that one yet. So Nashty's got it for 161.
It's gonna be that rehab might go up another 15K right there.
Yeah, because it's 2,600 square feet. So, and to be real, bro, this
come on,
pool's gonna need everything. So even at Nashty's price, 161, you're at 5%. Where this needs to be for someone to really probably want to buy it, bro. Like 120. If you got it at 120, you probably could wholesale it to a buyer for like 127, and you'd have to find like the right buyer that's like, all right, I'll take on something weird like this.
I'll take that indoor pool.
Yeah. So again, Batch strikes again, and they show us that quickly, instead of having to run your numbers and do all this, you can just quickly see. Now, when you're making offers to, let's see. If you're making offers to off-market sellers that, you definitely want to do maybe a little bit more due diligence. If you run into someone who's like, yes, I want to sell, you don't want to just go like with one number, one estimate, and then just go make them an offer, because that might be wrong. You never know. But if it's to a wholesaler, I would say, hey, like, just make them the offer that makes sense. And if you have a buyer, obviously, you don't want to be just saying, hey, I'll buy your house. And then let me tell you something that actually happened the other day, bro. This fired me up. So I got a house in Provo. A buddy of mine was like, "Hey, dude, can you help me wholesale this? Can you wholesale this to your buyers list? Will you sell this for me?" I was like, "Yeah, I'll find a buyer." So I'm working with Nelly, who I partner with, and she was talking to some buyer, right? And she's talking to him. He's saying, "Yeah, we're gonna buy it. Like we have the ARV at like 510, and we're ready to go." So then she's ready to send him over the paperwork. And before he makes his final offer, he's like, "Hey, is this contract you're assigning to me? Is it assignable?" And I'm like, and she's like, "Hey," she calls me. She's like, "Hey, why does he need the assignment that we're signing him to be assignable so he can assign it?" And I was like, "Well, it sounds like a wholesaler." So I get on the phone with him and I'm like, "Hey man, so I'm just curious, like we're going to sign this to you. You're going to put EMD down. Like, why do you need it to be assignable?" He's like, "Well, we buy houses, but sometimes we don't. If it doesn't make sense, like we'll assign it to someone else." I'm like, whoa.
Never heard that script before.
I'm like, "No, I get that. I get that you can assign other stuff, but if you're going to buy this, there's no reason to assign it." He's like, "Well, we always put this in our paperwork." I'm like, "Dude,
Just
I've been doing
be
this forever. Like you don't have to play with me. Like, you're gonna buy it or not?" And he's like, "No, we're gonna sign it." And I was like, "Well, you just wasted all your time because we wholesale and we're looking for the end buyer. Like, we have the list that you have. You can run it by your buyers, but
sure.
I'm not gonna go under contract for 7 days and just wait for you." And
And
that's
then you
the
can't
problem.
perform. Yeah.
No, yeah, go ahead, David. Go ahead.
And then when you can't perform, I look bad, or everybody looks bad. Nelly looks bad. The team looks bad.
We're out
And
7 days.
it's not like a direct to seller. It's a wholesale. That means that's a relationship, so that's dozens of leads potentially.
Yeah, man. So it was just really interesting to me that like that's how a lot of wholesalers come off, man. They're like, "Yeah, we're gonna buy it or we're gonna sign it." And it's like, dude, just be real. And that's what I preach to everyone here is like, if you're gonna work with a wholesaler or an investor, just be like, "Hey, do you mind if I run this by some of my buyers?" And if you're gonna work with a off-market seller, make sure you can actually do the deal,
Yeah.
or don't just tie them up and waste their time. Like, no offense to anyone that does this, but
Sure.
if you get someone under contract and you have no idea if it's a deal, but you just want to try it, you're wasting their time.
You just made us all look bad as wholesalers, just so you know.
Yeah, you made us look bad. And not only did you make us look bad, you just wasted a lot of your time. You wasted a lot of your time, energy, effort, and it's very demoralizing to like be like, "Yeah, I'm gonna get paid." And then it's like all these buyers come back and they're like, "Bro, I'm 100K less than what you have this thing for," or whatever. So just make sure, guys, be open and honest, especially always in everything you do. But don't try and play games, bro. Like, "Yeah, I'm gonna buy it, and if not, I might." It's like, dude, just be real, okay? It's either you're gonna do it or not, because I'm about to make you put down non-refundable earnest money.
Yeah.
You can't, then I know you're not buying it.
And not to 100% not understand that script or that way of saying, hey, like I buy, but like I do that. But that's for that's for an intro call and not when we're talking about the literal deal we're talking about right now. Like, okay, I understand, but you still have to decide in your process what you're going to do with this property. So have you decided what you're going to do with this property yet? Or you
Right.
still don't know if you're going to buy it or assign it? If you don't know that you're going to buy it, then we can't work on this one this way together.
Right. Way better conversation if he would have started out and said, "Hey, we got a lot of buyers. This one doesn't work for me, but I can check with my people to see if it will work for them." Great, man. Go ahead and check.
Do it.
Check the whole world. You can ask everybody.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna just like sit here and wait for you. Like, go ahead and check.
Yeah.
So anyway, I just thought I'd tell you that, man, because it's funny. That just happened yesterday, and it was like, come on, man. You can't play. You can't play me.
Nah.
So, David, what we've seen today is my process for quickly checking a property. We go look at batch. We run the numbers to see where it makes sense. Now, there's a couple things that I could do now that I've run the numbers on two properties. I could just go to Nashty and say, "Hey, Nashty, I got a buyer, or I got buyers that would be around 130 on this one. Would that work?" Without even having to check with my buyers, because I know these are my buyers' numbers. My buyers are going to be around here, right? So that's what I could do. Just say, "Hey, I got someone around 130. So let's try it. Let me show you guys how to do it.
Let's do it.
All right, hold on. And David, while I'm doing this, do you have any questions? Anything I should clarify on, or anything you want to add?
I think I think part of this process and a big thing to bring up is you're analyzing the deal, right? So it requires a couple skills that we're kind of all putting together here in this one thing. We're putting together the skill of comping, we're putting together the skill of underwriting, we're putting together the skill of, social awareness of when to reach out to people at what time. So if I was to say anything, that's probably just one thing to bring up, especially for anybody who's kind of just jumping into it. It's like, oh wait, like I don't even know this and that. It's like I get it, but if you and even with calls like this, you can take your time, break it down, pause it. That's why it's so great, and you might need to do that step by step. Okay, like so it took me hours to learn. Like when I first started comping, like hours. Like I have 6 properties like all day. Like sometimes it would take me 2 hours, just to be honest, because like I didn't want to bring it to my team and be wrong. And sometimes one comp might change your mind because it's a flowing market. It's not just like science where it's like, hey, like this person paid this, okay, but it's really the market, what the market will pay. Somebody's going to pay for this house and there's no guarantees. So an investor's always looking at something not as a guarantee. Like they have to always be prepared. So just to say, like, there's a few skills we're putting together here, and I know it could be overwhelming, but by I mean things with like batch, you're really just stepping into another world of what you could do. But with that power comes responsibility. So just be responsible with that Spider-Man stuff.
Yes, with that power comes responsibility. That's the truth. Well, let's take a look at this property. So this is Nashty on my CRM. I'm going to text him and say, hey man, I got a buyer that my buyers would be interested in this property around 130. Well, actually, let's make sure that's right. So 130 is probably where it would make sense on that one that we looked at, David. It's about a 91K rehab.
With the
Yeah,
pool.
with a pool. I feel pretty
Yeah.
confident about that.
No, yeah.
He's got it under contract. Well, I don't know what he's got it under contract for. That's why we're making the offer.
Sure.
But he's asking for 161. You guys got to shake all like apprehension of making low offers to people, even other wholesalers that have deals. You know why? Because buyers, David, didn't you have a deal the other day that the seller wanted 450 or 480 and your buyer hit you at 350?
Yeah, it was actually he wanted 345.
Okay. he ain't afraid to tell you the truth.
Bro, he tells me on like every deal I bring to him, he just like goes, and especially here in New York, you're looking at 60% to 50% on every offer, or else it honestly is not going to be a deal. So you gotta get kind of used to it. And if it makes you feel good, you don't really gotta do it with agents and wholesalers, but direct to seller, you can like prep them up. Hey, I'm gonna give you this offer. Please, I don't want to offend you. But with wholesalers and agents, I mean, the right relationships, you could just give them the number. Like that's it.
Just hit them hard, bro.
Yeah, hit them.
They're ready for it. My buyers, I'll say my buyers would be interested in this deal at 130K. I know you got it for higher, but that
was me.
That's where it makes sense. Can we make this happen?
And just so everyone knows too, like this is because Nathan's been able to talk with this person and has had the conversation of, hey, like I'll give you a price, but that's like what my buyer, and somebody like this is happy to go, hey man, like just give me the number and like we'll make it work, because he's smart enough to be like, I'd rather get a number in to get an idea, especially if he's working 20, 40 deals. Just getting an offer on one of those is a win for the day.
It is. Yeah. Because like I told you guys on this one right here, I had a buyer that offered 190, right? So he's got a 221. So he's asking 221. So that means he's definitely got it for less than 221 unless he's trying to make nothing, right? So he's obviously trying to make some. So he definitely doesn't have it as low as 190 because he said he can't make it happen, but it's at least some more ammo for him to go back and talk to the agent and just say, hey, look, I ran the numbers. I need to be around like 185. So, or whatever. So we can get the buyer involved. So, what I think happens a lot with wholesaling, David, is people think I think people think there's not a lot of deals out there. There are a lot of deals, but the thing is, like, we're just not getting them low enough. Like,
Yeah. I think it's like a conscious thing where there's just so many deals that it may just seem like that there's nothing, but you really have to like kind of carve and sift through, because think about the point of entry to do something like wholesaling. You could just start calling and putting things under contract. You got a lot of ambitious people trying to make something happen, and then
mm,
you have people who have experience locking things up and selling them when they didn't even know how it sold for that. So they just do that anyway because they're just playing high numbers.
that's right. I check out this is why it's important to like have conversations and make offers. As there was this property that I did.
That's like no pool. Oh, is that the other one? My bad.
Oh yeah, this is the other one. Yeah, yeah. The other one says, let's see.
No outside pool.
Yes, on the pool.
Yeah.
So this is what happened to me, and that's what I want to stress to everybody on here. The importance of making offers. I called on a property in Salt Lake City, Utah, a while ago, and made a house just got listed. It was listed like at ARV at like 450, and it really needed to be at like 320, 325, 320. So I called the guy and I said, "Hey, I'd like to make an offer at 320." He's like, "Yeah, right. That's so low. They would never accept that." So I was like, "Okay, that's all good." So then like a month later, I didn't follow up. I was like, whatever, that guy's not going to accept my offer. So a month later, someone on like a Facebook group wrote, "Hey, I have a property in Utah. I need help finding a buyer." I reached out to the person. I said, "Hey, I got buyers. How can I help?" It was the same property. They had it under contract for like 390 or 380. Okay. So that guy at 450, when I offered 320, he didn't accept it, but he came down to like 390. Okay. Or 380. So I looked at the deal and I said, "Hey, I've actually ran comps on this. This thing needs to be like 320. I already made an offer. It's just not a deal that high." And they're like, "All right, let me see if I can renegotiate." So they renegotiated with the guy, and the guy finally accepted like I think we got him down to like 315 or something. And then I found a buyer for like 340, 335. We made like 25,000. So the thing is, guys, is like, even if someone, like I just made this, I told Nashty I need to be at 130 and then this other one I be at 190. Like, they might not say yes at the beginning, but if you follow up, after they get a bunch of low offers where they need to be, a seller, a wholesaler, an agent, they're eventually going to be like, this is what I'm getting.
Yeah.
And one more example. I have an aunt who's awesome, but she listed her house at 850 because she's like, that's what I think it's worth. After a couple of months of no one buying it, now she's asked for less. But that's just what happens. People get ambitious.
Gotta do it. Yeah.
But what helps those people, you get the right price. Well, you got to make the offer, right? And you got to follow up. And it's not just a text offer. I can text Nash because we're homies.
Exactly.
But if I didn't know him and I just text him a low offer, he's going to be like, forget this guy. And he's not going to remember me. But you got to build that relationship. You got to make that call. You got to make that offer. And that's how flippers survive and get deals, because they're making low offers and they're being consistent and they're getting it done.
100%.
Yes, sir. All right. Well, let's see if there's any comments coming in from the chat. Let's see. No, it's been kind of quiet. I guess we've been answering all the questions.
There you go.
Let's see, David, anything else before we wrap up, or anything you'd like me to check right now? Because I know we were going to kind of walk through some of your deals. I did this specifically to kind of to work with you as well, just say, hey, this is how fast I would do it. I wouldn't even waste time, reaching out to buyers necessarily on a property, unless like it's so hot and it's already a great deal. But if it's like you're not sure, I would just run your numbers and then kind of tell the wholesaler that has the deal like where you'd need to be. And if they're close, they're like, oh yeah, like we're close, then yes, it's worth reaching out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I don't know if we can maybe do it all for another call. The only thing I had pretty much was two direct to seller who is planning to sell 2 properties within the next 4 months. So that's
Okay.
a little different, but
yeah, we can do that in another call. Plus, we don't want to share that info and have someone it, Nah, I don't think anyone would do that. But so let's wrap up the call so everybody kind of knows what we're been talking about today. if you want to comp deals, whether it's from on the MLS, whether it's from a wholesaler or someone that's on market that you texted, sorry, off market that you texted, you can do a quick way where you can just go and run it in Zillow, run it in batch, compare them, see if it's pretty close, and then make an offer by running it in a calculator. You don't have to have a calculator like mine, but you do need to run something where it's, it makes sense. After you break everything down, because if you just take the 70% minus ARV, 70% ARV minus your wholesale fee minus your rehab, that's going to be way, 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 way low.
Always.
And I'll show you guys like why that is. So 287 is the ARV.
And if you find that deal, you're better off buying it for yourself.
Yeah. Let's see. By the way, this is that's not I sent this picture to someone.
Not judging you.
Because it's actually Nathan Valley. I thought it was Nathan Valley's sister, if anyone knows Nathan.
Oh, yeah.
It says something Valley. So I was like,
That's
hey,
her.
I was like, is that your sister, bro? Anyway, let's see. So 287 times, what is that? 70% minus on this one, we were saying it was like a 91K rehab, right? We were saying it was like a lot, and you want to make 10K, right? So you're at $99,000 versus when we ran it, we're like $31,000 higher. And that's because we actually ran the numbers the right way. And we, but again, if you do a 70%, you're going to be so low that I don't think you'll really ever get a deal because I'm going to be, or so there's going to be someone that's going to be able to run the numbers the right way and pay more. Right.
Yeah, I experienced that. I experienced, months of that, of trying to make offers just based on that. And
if you do happen to get one in there, then you got a great deal and you're probably gonna make a lot of money. But if you just live and die by that rule, you're gonna let a lot of stuff go that was deals, because again, it's about knowing who your buyer is, knowing what they want, because sometimes they'll pay when there's a slim margin. And that's what they were doing a lot during the pandemic, is the inventory was so low that they were buying deals that didn't make sense. And we're kind of getting into a period where the inventory is pretty low in a lot of areas. So we might be coming into that where you can find buyers that will pay like more than others, but you just got to look for them. You got to find them. And I know, David, you got a couple that, that are pretty good landlord buyers, right?
Yeah. I got a couple landlord buyers, and it depends on the area, and it could be challenging to cash flow around here, but yeah, at times they're able to, pay more, especially if, could get creative. But with cash deals, it can be tricky to work, especially with the rates and how pricey it out here. But we have like 2 landlord buyers, mainly, that like to bring deals to, and they'll buy them even if they've been on the MLS.
That's good.
Because some people around here, like, if it touched the MLS, like, they might not even return your call or answer any calls after that, like, just because you brought them that one time.
Dude, I don't get that. Like, if it's a good deal, then it doesn't matter if it's MLS, Craigslist, whatever. It's weird.
Yeah. So there's guys who get that and they're totally cool with it. But I guess similar to where certain guys feel certain ways about wholesaling, they're just like, bro, don't bring it to me because I already know. It's like, well, what he knows is that every time he had that experience, it was not good. He doesn't know that with me, it's a different experience, but sometimes you can't prove that to people. I mean, you could send them, you could follow up and prove it. And I've done that,
right.
Which is why I still share deals with my landlord buyers. I talked to you the other day, just why they know I'm still actively looking for it. You know?
Now, I think the thing that puts a sour taste in most people's mouth with the MLS is, like, I've seen guys that will get a property on the MLS for, like, it's listed for 287 and they'll get it for like 285. And then they'll be like, hey man, I got a deal for you. And people are like, bro, why would I go with you when I can just wait for you to lose that contract and I'll just call the agent myself? Like, they just don't have a deal. But if you call someone and you like, bro, I got this deal, it's listed on the MLS for 280, I got it for 100,000, or I got it for 200,000, and you're providing value,
there you go.
Wow, yeah, man, thanks for letting me know. That's a great deal. That's when it works. But now sometimes Jerry Norton was telling me, he's like, sometimes I'll lock up a property immediately when it's listed because it's just listed at the right price where it is a deal. And you're going to run into some buyers that are going to be like, bro, this is listed. But you're like, dude, it was listed at the right price and I locked it up because it's a deal. So it's a double-edged sword, right? You got like, if you lock it up quick and it is a deal at
And
the
you're Jerry Norton.
yeah. But you know, I haven't had very much success with locking it up at price and then being able to wholesale it. So anyway, all right. Well, we got one question that did come in through InvestQuest_17. Do you let buyers walk the property before locking it up all the time so you offer could be spot on? InvestQuest, great question. It depends if I have a specific buyer who I think would be a good fit. And I'm like, hey, man, you want to just come with me? I was going to go take some pictures and see the house condition. You might as well come with me because I think it would be a good house for you. That's when I would do it. And if it's like I'm walking it to just see. Now, where I wouldn't do that is if it's like I'm talking to the seller. Let's just say it's off market. I'm talking to a seller and they're like, hey, I want 250. And I'm like, I can do 224. And they're like, okay. And 224 is a deal. Then for me, I don't need my buyer to walk it because I already have a deal. But if it's something that's like I'm unsure of, or it's really tight and the seller wants 250 and they won't go less than 250 and it's like barely a deal at 250, I'll have my buyer go then, because I don't want to say, hey, yes, I can do 250, lock it up, waste their time, waste my time. Might as well just, you know, bring them with me. Does that make sense, David? Did I explain that?
Yeah, and I would agree. That's as close as you can get is always better, especially if you don't know much about it. But if your deal is low enough and it makes sense, personally with me, at least my local market here in New York, we walk pretty much every property, whether it's my buyer or me literally going with my buyer. I have a good buyer who's been very cool and let me walk 2 properties with him. But because in New York, once you're locked into contract, there's an ironclad. Like, it's not like other states where you can get out. Like with New York, it's an attorney state. Once you're in contract, that's like the good and bad. The good part is that seller's probably not getting out of that contract. But the bad part is you're not getting out of that contract.
Bro, that's wild. Yeah, that's wild. You locked in, bro. You're a new wholesaler and you lock in, you know what you're doing?
Yeah, and it's usually 10 to 15K EMD, so around here.
Yeah, so you can't really just lock up somebody without, you know, a good earnest money. Well, that's InvestQuest. If you're watching this still, that's the answer to the question. And yeah, so David, tell everybody where they can find you if they want to do some deals in Tampa and Long Island. How can they reach out to you?
Yeah, my phone number here, 631-495-7586. That's my personal number right there, so you can feel free to message me there. Also on Facebook, I'm pretty accessible on there. And Instagram, you search my name. I'm pretty accessible through there. Feel free to reach out. Long Island deals, Tampa, Orlando as well, since we got some connections there. But yeah, 100% happy to help and take a look at things.
For sure. And guys, I just put my the link to Batch Leads. If you haven't tried it yet, definitely give it a shot. You get a 50% off discount with my promo code Investor Thrive, and I think they're still running the free trial as well. So you might as well try it, guys. We just ran a couple properties and saw it was spot on the ARV in Florida. Now it's not always going to be like that, depending on the state, but give it a shot and run the averages and see, and you'll see for yourself. All right, guys. Peace out. Have a good one. Okay, bro. So that was good. I